I thought we, played a pretty good first half. I felt there to close the first quarter and the second quarter, we kind of allowed, gave away some of our lead. We came out in the third, and I thought defensively that wasn't a great quarter for us. Gave up way too many points, and obviously starting the fourth, it was close. But I thought our guys battled and fought. It was great to give some guys some different opportunities in different situations. We obviously got a chance to play a lot of different guys. It was a little bit of a different kind of game because of the rotations and the minutes. But overall, I think there's still some things we can look at and try to improve upon.
Did Cantor tweak his arm? I'm sorry. Did Ennis tweak his arm?
No, he'd gotten a cut on his elbow that I think had opened up again, and they just needed to kind of, I think because of the way it was bleeding for the stoppage of play, he was just dealing with that. That's what the bigger issue was.
Billy, what did you think of the tribute video and the ceremony with Oscar and all that stuff before the game?
I think standing there, I should say. I think when you look at different records that are set in whatever particular sport it is, and you see a lot of those athletes from different sports, different generations, different things that have been accomplished, it kind of puts in really perspective to sitting there very, very humbly watching, what he has been able to do in this regular season. And, to have Oscar Robertson stand there with him, and then obviously to show some clips of him, it kind of almost bridges the gap of the past and the future, and just what, like I said before the game, what Oscar Robertson's meant to the game, and the way he kind of revolutionized, a perimeter guard, a big guard. He was probably the first guy that was that size that could do the things that he could do. I think when you think of Oscar Robertson, everybody thinks about the same thing: triple doubles, and for Russell to be able to do that, and for him to be able to, Oscar Robertson, be here to share in it, I think it was a great moment.
The decision for Russ not to play in the second half, was that something that you would come up with him before the game or at halftime? When was that decision? Pretty
much last night. Talked about it. I think he felt like he wanted to kind of play his normal minutes and get into a normal rhythm. I didn't see a need, nor did he, I think, to play in the second half. So, coming off a day off yesterday and it being a back-to-back, I mean, it was good that, he had a little bit of a break and then could get back into playing again. So it just didn't make sense, like I said, for him to play there in that second half.
Billy, I know there's all this talk about Russ and MVP, but what do you think he's done for the game of basketball?
Well, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player, and I think for kids that are watching him play, you always look at when you play the game, what kind of impact you have on people, and I think his greatest impact is, one, I've said this before, he's got a never say die attitude. He always has hope and optimism that anything's possible, and he plays with everything he has, and I think it's a great lesson for everybody in life. Whatever you're doing, if you put your full heart and soul into it, regardless of what the results is, it's not failure. It may be some disappointment, but when you do that, you can always walk away. And I've said this before about Russell. Whenever his time is done, and I've seen this happen to a lot of players leave the game and they're very, very regretful, and they're very, very disappointed and look back wishing they could get their time back to do things differently. I think with the way Russell plays the game, he's never going to have any regret because of how hard he played. He's not going to look back and say, geez, I wish I would have given more energy. I wish I would have played hard. I wish I would have invested more. He's never going to say that. So whenever his time is done, he's always going to leave, I think, in a good place. So, he's, I think, leaving and continues to leave a great legacy.
Before the game, you talked a little bit about sort of the time between what Robertson did and Russell being able to do it now. Are you surprised that it took so long for someone to be able to do it? And with the game and the way it's played now and the role of a guard, do you think we're going to start seeing the triple-double become more of a part of the NBA?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of talented players in the league. There's certainly guys that have done it throughout the league. He's just a very, very unique player. He's clearly the best rebounding guard in the league. There's no doubt about that. And he's, he sees the floor extremely well. I think he generates a lot of shots for a lot of different guys on our team. And then he's got an incredible ability to be able to score because he can play in transition, he can shoot threes, he can post up, he can play with his back to the basket, and he can drive. So there's really nothing on the floor offensively that he can't do. So like I said, when this whole thing started and people were questioning, 21, 22, can he get it? Do you think he can get it? Like, the one area I knew that was not in doubt was him getting 10 points. Like, that was going to happen. It was just going to be a matter of, we making shots, rebounding. But like I said, I think the whole thing that happened to him tonight was great that Oscar Robertson was there to share in it. But I think as you saw, it was really kind of an organizational team accomplishment in a lot of ways that everybody kind of played a part and shared in it.
Do you see guards starting to be more well-rounded in general? He did way more than anyone else, but...
It's hard. It's hard. I'm not saying that guys can't do it, but to do it 42 times or to average that, I think is really, really, really hard to do. And I think certainly Oscar Robertson doing it in 61, 62, and it lasting this long just gives you an idea of how hard it is.
Billy, Houston, the last time you guys played them, they just basically got shots wherever they wanted, 3 layups, and that was pretty much it, nothing from mid-range. When you have to play them on night after night after night, what's the best way for you guys to go about forcing them into those uncomfortable mid-range shots, which they almost kind of refuse to take?
Yeah, no, I think that we've got a sample size of 4 games. Their team changed the first couple times we've played them. They've obviously went through the All-Star break and added some players, and we did the same. So, there's 4 games for us to take a look at and try to learn from. And just get ready to play. They're a very, very good team, and they obviously shoot the ball. They've set a record in the NBA, makes and attempts. They do it at a great level. Obviously Harden back there with his abilities to score and to pass and to generate offense, the shooting they have around them. So obviously they finished where they finished this year because they're a very, very good team.
Last year when you guys played San Antonio and they beat you up pretty bad in that first game, and Aldridge was really hot those first couple games from mid-range. I know intellectually it's really easy to say, all right, he's not going to shoot 70% or whatever it is from mid-range in the series. But when you're a player, I feel like emotionally sometimes it's harder to get that. What's your role in suppressing the emotions and kind of teaching the intellectual side so they don't get frustrated if they go off from jump shots or something like that?
Well, I always think that game planning or preparation or scouting or whatever we're doing in a particular game, I think you've got to go through a series of checkpoints. The first checkpoints is, are you doing what we're supposed to be doing with enough intensity and force and energy and effort? Because if whatever it is you're doing defensively, if you're not doing those things, it's a problem. Then the next thing, comes down to, are we actually executing the efforts there, but are we executing what we're doing? And then the third part would be, okay, we're doing those things now. Do we need to make an adjustment? I think last year with Aldridge, the fact of the matter was he was shooting all the shots that we would want a player to take. They were non-paint twos, and he was great at making them. I didn't think that we put him under enough pressure in terms of trying to get back to him in that first game. And it wasn't necessarily a frustration. It was like, hey, are we doing this hard enough? And I think the answer was, and I don't want to say hard enough, but were we technically good enough? Were we getting back there? Were we disciplined in what we're doing? And we weren't. And I think now trying to do that at that level, then you see what happens from there.
Billy, you mentioned, everybody in it kind of being an organizational moment tonight. How important was it? It was an unusual moment, but it was an unusual season. How important was it organizationally just to take a beat, take a moment tonight and recognize it?
Yeah, one is I can tell you Russell I think he just likes playing, likes focus on it. He obviously understands the magnitude of it and understands how big it is. It was a really, really unique day today just because it was the last game of the regular season. Obviously, we weren't going to play all of our guys. Denver, we played them 3 days ago. They're sitting a lot of their guys. And you have this Oscar Robertson, triple-double, all this stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on tonight, and I thought it was all really, really positive because I felt like, to your point, like everybody shared in that. And I think because of Russell's humility and because of Russell's always being grateful and thankful, to his teammates, to the organization. It was a great moment. It really was. I mean, what he did over 82 games was absolutely historic, and deservedly so. I'm glad that we could honor that moment before the game.
Coach, there was a lot of talk during the game, social media, about Josh Huestis playing really well and wondering his future. Is he a guy that you think can grow?
It was good. I think, just getting it, he's played very, very well with the Blue. They've obviously advanced in the playoffs. He's shot the ball extremely well. He did some really good things tonight. It was hard for Josh. There's things that we've added since he's been gone. He's trying to pick up. But listen, he's got great athleticism. He can protect the rim. He's a good defender. I think the biggest area he's improved has been his shooting. He's more consistent there. And it's hard. When you're a power forward in college your whole entire career and you have to move to that small forward spot and play 3 and the 4, it's challenging. But I was really happy for him because he's made a great investment to himself, to the team, to personally develop and get better.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.